Welcome to episode 11 of my Road to DipWSET video analysis. I'm currently tasting 12 incredible wines over a 12-week period according to the WSET systematic approach to tasting. By using the SAT, I'm able to assess the wine's quality as well as its readiness for drinking. I've put these videos together to encourage those who watch them to make a donation towards my educational campaign. The money I gathered throughout the campaign will be going towards my enrollment for the Diploma in Wines through WSET. The diploma is an expert wine course and is the highest level of education offered by the institution. The link you'll need in order to read about the campaign and to make a donation will be found across all my social media pages. And of course, to make donating worth your while, I'm including a bottle of every wine that I taste over this 12-week period into a case of 12, which could be yours. All you need to do is make a donation towards my campaign. I'd like to extend a massive thanks to everybody who's already made a donation and to all these amazing producers who have been kind enough to sponsor the wines for these videos. I really can't believe that it's episode 11. Just one more episode to go, so make sure to make those donations and stand a chance to win 12 incredible wines. So without further delay, how's about to introduce wine number 11 to you? Brune Wines, the Valley Pinot Noir 2020. The valley represents the Elgin Valley. And Nico Krobler, the owner and winemaker of Brune in the valley, has managed to produce a range of wines which truly captures the essence of the Elgin Valley. Wines which reflect flavor, aroma, quality and finesse of a region which is so close to his heart. The Elgin region has the perfect kind of terroir for the production or growth of noble varietals such as Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. With variations in mesoclimate, altitudes and soil types, it's no surprise to me that wine growers have heavily invested their time and energy into this pristine part of South Africa. The region will experience quite a bit of cloud cover over growing season, and this, coupled up with altitude, contributes to a lower pH, a higher natural acidity, and those full fruit flavors which are often associated with wines coming out from Elgin. Pinot Noir is one of the world's most decorated black grape varietals. Just out of interest sake, a Grand Cru Red Burgundy, Grand Cru standing for the most superior grade, is going to cost you around about $9,500. It's really no joke, and Burgundy, France has been home to some of the world's rarest as well as most expensive wines for centuries. Pinot Noir produces wines with incredible flavor and aroma complexities. It's one of those varietals which is able to really communicate the differences in terroir to our palates. Although the grape is quite a tricky grape to work with as it's prone to viruses, rot, fungal disease and sunburn. As I've mentioned to you time and time again, the most important balance in winemaking is that balance between natural acidity and sugar. And because Pinot Noir is what we call an early ripener, growing it in a cool region such as Elgin makes total sense. Therefore, the grape grows in an environment which allows it to ripen at a steady pace to its fullest potential while still retaining that lovely, vibrant natural acidity. So to cut a long story short, if you want to produce a world-class Pinot Noir, you need to truly understand terroir and know how to cultivate or manipulate vines with the utmost care and respect. And luckily for all of us, I know just the man, Nico Krobler. Until the age of 14, Nico grew up in Gauteng, and coming from an agricultural background, crop growing was more than just farming to him, it was a way of life. When Nico was 14, his family relocated to Stellenbosch, and upon their arrival, this is where Nico saw vineyards for the very first time. He says that in that moment, he realized exactly what it is that he had to do with his life. He initially got accepted into the University of Stellenbosch to study law, but after his first year of studies, he managed to convince his parents to allow him to switch to a BSc in agriculture, where he specialized in viticulture and oenology. Nico ended up completing his harvest practical at Eikendal Wine Estate here in Stellenbosch, and shortly after that, he was announced as the head winemaker in 2009. He would go on to producing art in the form of wine for Eikendal for about 11 years before moving on in 2020 to focus solely on Brune wines with his wife Christelle. During his time at Eikendal, Nico would meet Frenchman and vigneron Bruno Lorenzon of Domaine Lorenzon in Mercure, a wine village within the Côte de Chalonnais in Burgundy, France. Nico in turn would spend a lot of time in Burgundy for harvest, and this is where he grew that passion or love for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Nico was then determined to produce a South African version of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which would boast the same kind of elegance, finesse, purity, and restraint of the wines one would find in Burgundy. And this would lead to the very first bottling of the exquisite Brune Pinot Noir in 2014. To Nico, his Brune range, which consists of a premium Pinot Noir and a premium Chardonnay, will represent his Grand Cru wines. And this would lead to Nico wanting to introduce a Brune lifestyle wine, which would then represent the village wines. So when producing the lifestyle range, Nico wanted to produce wines with exceptional quality at an accessible price point that still managed to stay true to their sense of place. The only problem Nico and Christelle had at the time was, what were they supposed to name this range? So after months of debating, the name would suddenly come to Nico when he was on a flight back to Cape Town from a trade show in the Eastern Cape, as the plane flew over the very beautiful Elgin Valley. So if you take a look at the label, this is the actual view that Nico had from the plane window the day that they flew over the Elgin Valley. And that's how they got the name, The Valley. And this is what Nico and Christelle have done incredibly well with this range. The packaging itself is what grabs you up front and it sells the wine to you before you even get to taste it. Rarely does it happen that the quality of the wine inside the bottle matches the quality of the packaging, but in the Valley's case, it truly does. The one thing I admire about Nico is his passion and his mentality when it comes to winemaking. He says that his job as a winemaker is not to show off his techniques or his skill sets, it's merely to act as a guide to the wine through its process of evolution. And by using traditional Burgundian winemaking techniques with a dash of South African flair, Nico is currently producing some of South Africa's most beautiful wines. So as you can already make out, Nico is quite a stand-up guy. There's just one thing I'm not so keen on, and that's the fact that he's a Blue Bull supporter. And don't worry, Nico, although your team is only 11th on the log, your wine will always be number 1 in our hearts. And damn, with all this talking, I'm starting to get thirsty, so how's about we crack on with that evaluation? Okay, so now that I've evaluated the wine, let's take a look at my notes. For the color, I said that the wine is pale ruby. You can see for yourself just how translucent that wine is. On the nose, I said that the wine carries a pronounced aroma intensity, and I could pick out aromas of cranberry, pomegranate, as well as orange peel, red cherry, clove, and a touch of nutmeg. I could find mainly primary aromas, although there was a hint of secondary, therefore I said that the wine is a developing wine. On the palate, I said that the wine is dry, carries a medium plus acidity, and has a medium tannin structure. The wine carries a medium alcohol. That sits at about 12.5%, which makes the wine suitable for everyday consumption, no matter what time of the day it may be. And this gives way to the wine carrying a medium body. For the flavor intensity of the wine, I gave the wine a medium plus, and I could find flavors of candied cherry, strawberry, raspberry, as well as red plum. The purity of fruit of this Pinot Noir is outstanding. And this is helped along by the fact that the wine is exposed to custom-made Burgundian oak barrels from the Forest Pierre de Bourgogne. The barrels themselves were put together by friends Nico Krobler and Bruno Lorenzon, and there's no other wine in South Africa that's being exposed to the same kind of oak for its maturation process, and this just adds to the uniqueness of the Valley Pinot Noir. For those barrels, they're using only neutral oak, and again this is to promote the purity of fruit rather than impart flavors such as sweetness or char into the wine. I'd also like to point out that for the production of this Pinot Noir, Nico uses 5 different clones coming in from 10 different vineyards around the Elgin region. He also sources these grapes from high density vineyards. High density meaning that there's about 4,000 to 10,000 vines per hectare. High density planting is going to be positive in many different facets when it comes to winemaking. But in this case, in my opinion, I believe that the high density planting is really kind of increasing that concentration of fruit because those vines are now under a little bit of pressure and they're fighting for that little bit of water source, really bringing out a fantastic character in this wine. The drinkability of this wine is crunchy and very juicy, and I gave it a medium plus for its finish. When it comes to the assessment of quality for the wines, we use the Blick system where we score the wine on its balance, length, intensity, and complexity. For the Valley Pinot Noir, I scored the wine a point for balance, a point for length, and then a half a point for intensity and half a point for complexity. Therefore, giving the Valley Pinot Noir 2020 an overall quality assessment of very good. For the readiness of drinking, I said that the wine drinks incredibly well now, but it will indeed benefit with some further aging. And this, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of episode number 11. Please make sure to share these videos, make those donations, and stand a chance to win a case of 12 incredible wine sourced from some of my favorite producers around the Western Cape. And before I love and leave you, I'd like to remind you all that there's no standard when it comes to your enjoyment for wine. And remember, be kind and drink good wine. Now that's tasty.